offender on our show. It's DeNiSe LiNViLLE, and you're going to read for us. Tell us what you're reading.
I'm reading. I'd actually like to dedicate this to Gas, who I only recently, but because not that Gas is crazy, but it does have to do with the healthcare system in the United States. It sort of comes up in this story. And so I'm going to read from another story.
Okay, cool.
And you know what? I'm going to put it on you to gong me.
Okay.
Could you do that? Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, because we have time factor. Yeah. So
right.
how long do you want to go for? 5 minutes?
I don't want, whatever you want. Is this my mic?
It is.
Oh, fuck. I just fucked it out.
But I can hold this for you.
Wait a minute. This is... Hello? Does this work?
It does, but it might not be close enough for you.
You need better production values. I need to get my kid to help you.
You've told me that for like a year ago.
I'm sorry.
I know. Everybody says I'm going to help. And then...
Well, wait. I want to use your mic. Okay. So, this is a piece about... This is basically, the title of this is the Zagat's tour of psych wards in New York City.
Nice.
So, if you ever needed to go to a psych ward, and I'm only giving a small portion of it, but if you needed a psych ward, I have it all broken down for you. So you can see the rest of it on Tumblr or whatever, but this is my experience. The story goes, I meet all the best people in psych wards. Really, I do. It's not like you just pass in the hallways, say hi, and then give each other a big hug goodbye on the way out. You forge lifelong friendships. Hands down, this is the most therapeutic aspect of spending time in a psych ward. Very healing. I've only been to 3 of them, but that's 3 more than most people can claim. So here's a little primer in case you find yourself, well, you know. My first stint in a psych ward was just last summer, and I was smart enough to turn myself in voluntarily. Always turn yourself in voluntarily if possible. I am very research oriented, so as I was slowly going mad, I got onto my computer and researched the best hospitals for those who require these types of services. Going crazy is no excuse for not doing proper research. I chose Columbia Presbyterian because they had a program where patients could see a doctor in each of the different specialties, and then doctors from each specialty would hash it out among themselves and find a final diagnosis. This seemed an entirely reasonable approach, and I was excited at the prospect of finally, definitively, knowing what the fuck was going on in my brain, as I had essentially been diagnosed with everything in the DSM. The best part of telling the intake people that you might be suicidal is that you get to cut in line and go straight into triage. The worst part is when you hear the door lock behind you. But even though you have checked yourself involuntarily, you will at some point find that your status has been changed to involuntary, because after a few hours, days in the emergency room, you have become truly psychotic. This is what happens after laying on a gurney under a bright fluorescent light, deprived of sleep, listening to near constant screaming and crying, and being completely ignored by the hospital staff. There is a reason there are no clocks or windows in most emergency rooms. That way it's easy to lose track of time when day becomes night, or even when Thursday has become Friday. This is the same method they use to torture prisoners of war when they have exhausted all other more humane methods of getting top secret information from them. For educational purposes, I should point out that if you are one of those people with private insurance and a real psychiatrist, like the kind who costs $500 an hour cash and who also has hospital privileges, you likely have no idea what you likely have no idea what I'm talking about, because you likely won't be entering a psych ward or an emergency room. Instead, your psychiatrist will call ahead, book a room for you, and oh, by the way, technically you are cutting in line, because there are only so many beds in a psych ward, and the rest of us are slowly going mad under the bright lights of hell in the emergency room, waiting for the bed you just stole. It also pisses me off because I love to cut in line. I am sure somewhere there is a note in my records that says entitlement issues. But it doesn't really matter because very few doctors will actually read your chart. As I had never been whisked past the red velvet rope straight into a private room, I can only give a proper account of the emergency room method of getting into a psych ward. This is probably because when I had super deluxe rich person's insurance and a magic money wand to wave over all of my problems, I never required the services of a psych ward. So, if you do score a luxury check-in via your expensive shrink, you basically get to shower, pack your bags, and show up as if you have a reservation at a hotel. Part of the reason I'm writing this article is because I have because I used to have stellar rich person's insurance, and I had no idea that this whole other world of poor people's insurance existed. First of all, it's impossible to get poor people's insurance without a PhD in systems analyst or a whole lot of time on your hands. Do you know why people on Medicaid food stamps don't work? Because getting and retaining these entitlements is a full-time job. You spend days shuffling along in lines, clutching the required paperwork, only to find that you are missing some key ingredient, then going back the next day to start the process all over again, only to be told that you had to go stand in a different line, all the while treated like an animal by hospital clerks who refuse to make eye contact with you, and when you finally make your way to their throne of indifference. So, if you are one of those people that I used to be when I had private insurance, turn off your candy-ass NPR right now and sit up and take notes. In the interest of practicality, I believe there should be a simple diagnosis of poor for some patients. The problem with this diagnosis is that there is no pill to cure it, and your shrink surely isn't going to pay you for going into therapy, which you aren't doing anyway because you can't afford it. In the event you have shit for insurance, or no insurance at all, or Medicaid, such as myself, you are escorted into a very large, quote, we are talking New York City hospitals here, brightly lit ghetto. Once I was triaged, I was put into a gurney and wheeled into the pen. That's where they put you with the crazies, so you don't scare the shit out of the general emergency population. The pen has a sort of gate around it with an opening and to enter and exit, but that's only for official people, the people that definitely doesn't include you. There is even a red line taped on the floor across the threshold, and you are not allowed to cross it. But as I patiently wait on my gurney, trying to cause as little trouble as possible, I realized that I was already making great strides in my pursuit of improved mental health. I was being patient, I was not bitchy to anyone. I had yet to ask how much longer. This went on for at least 20 minutes. And then I got up and found a nurse and asked to go home. He whispered that they were definitely going to get me a bed on the ward and that I should just try hanging in there and to be patient, which I was already trying to do. He promised that once I got upstairs and checked into the ward that things would be totally different. As I was one of about 20 people in the pen, and it was obvious that I was the only one who got the clandestine whisper, my advice is, if at all possible, be a wife.
Wow. 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 So you said, DeNiSe LiNViLLE, that the first time you went in was this past year?
A year and a half.
And it's been 3 times in the year and a half?
4.
Oh, so you an extra one since then?
Yeah, you know, you can't.
What happened? How are you walking around now?
You know, ask the people about my kindness of strangers. I don't know, you know. I
You feel okay?
Never. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, I feel better.
Do you feel that when they release you, you're ready to be released?
Sometimes, and sometimes not. But I mean, in the end, I ended up stabbing myself with a butcher knife.
Wow. Where? By accident?
No.
On purpose.
So, you know, requiring 18 stitches, I wasn't like a cutter, I was a stabber.
Ah.
Which, it's hard for them because women are cutters, not stabbers, and only sociopaths and men who are, young men who are, I did the whole search on it, only young men who are sociopaths and under the influence of things like, you know, PCP or whatever, are stabbers.
Right.
So for me to be a 51-year-old person who was stabbing himself was yeah, that confusing, but there is a sort of happy ending to the story.
Tell us.
Well, happy ending starts out bad because it starts with my cousin committing suicide, who's the same age as me, but which caused me to take much more seriously mental health issues. And now I'm a big advocate of, like, okay, people with mental health problems are sort of, you know, the last people in the closet.
Right.
And that families and people who need these services occasionally are, you know, and as we all know, folks, Seymour Hoffman dying and everything else, that we can do it. We've done it with a million other things where people have become helpful, open, honest, willing to put a lot of effort behind helping these people.
I agree.
You know,
I totally agree. Yeah. So you write about it and you use your creativity. Do you think that the writing helps?
absolutely. This piece I couldn't have written had I not been there. I mean, there's 60 pages of this. You know, so.
Is it published anywhere? Can anybody read it?
It's on my tongue. It's in the process maybe of being published, but it's on my Tumblr account, Fleeing to Cuba.
Wait, what? Fleeing to Cuba?
Yeah, I did Fleeing to Cuba.
Have you ever been there?
No, and that's why I'm fleeing to Cuba, because I've been on my way there 3 times, and something has happened each time. And my son and I once had an afternoon where we were joking because we were supposed to be going to Cuba and something fucked up and we didn't get to go. And I was making this other account, and he said, you should just call it Fleeing to Cuba. And I said, that sounds more like a rock band. And
You are a rock band. What are you talking about? It's Nutella Day. You want some Nutella? Yay! So Fleeing to Cuba on Tumblr. Take the other one. It's okay.
No, I got it. I got it. I'm like a fucking,
You're amazing. The fact that you're here and you are such a creative writer and, you know, brave enough to talk about your situation, which can probably help another person.
I hope that with gas, just in terms of like being in a Medicaid situation, which I was, and being like really realizing like, wow, I am the last person that's gonna help. And it totally depends on what some orderly or some person that I might interact with. So,
Persistence.
yeah. Yeah.
I know.
So, good on you. And hopefully everything will work out for gas.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Any last shout outs?
No.
You want to push a button?
Oh dear.
That works. I always like
that one. So I was gonna give you some some really good Spanish pie.
That's coming up next.
And then in the meantime, I'm going to
Oh, DeNiSe! Yay! We'll be back. We got one more.